Learning new details on how the people of Arizona feel about the new law affecting their state. The main controversy here, whether or not police officers should question suspects about their immigration status and request identification if they raise suspicions. Here's a survey from Rasmussen reports 55% favor the legislation. That compares to about 36% are against it. There is also big concern in that state now about a potential boycott. Lawmakers on the Republican side and the Democratic side saying don't do it. Trent Franks is a congressman from Arizona. He's a Republican. I know you're against this idea. Do you expect the planned boycotts to affect your state?
Well, Bill, I don't know what will happen there. I know that the left is doing everything they can to try to catalyze a boycott based on, in my judgment, a complete mischaracterization of the bill. And I think that this is their effort to politically try to gain ground. And it really doesn't have much to do with the whole immigration debate.
But you know specifically in your state, boycotts have worked in the past. In the early 1990s, back then it was the question about Martin Luther King Recognition Day. They pulled a Super Bowl out of your state. Cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. Boycotts can have an effect.
Boycotts can have an effect. And again, I don't have a prediction on what will happen in that regard. But I do believe that if people understand what the bill really does, that it will blunt it immediately, because they don't want to look silly afterwards, you know, that they boycotted a state in an unjust way. So I think that there's hope that it will go in the right direction. And I guess, you know, we just need to put this thing in context. All of us believe that America is the depot of freedom. I do. I mean, I'm married to a lady that immigrated here from the Philippines, and I believe in legal immigration. But in Arizona, we're kind of the corridor for illegal immigration. And in a country where we're now living in a nuclear age, where terrorists are trying to lay hold on weapons of mass destruction, it's very important that we maintain border security. And the reason Arizona passed this bill, which is essentially just codifying in state law what was already in federal law, is because the federal government wasn't doing its job. And I believe with all of my heart that if people understand that and look at the bill honestly, it may need some changes. They're already working on some changes. But if they look at the bill honestly, I think that this boycott thing will go completely away, and people realize that it's the federal government that hasn't been doing its job. It hasn't been the state legislature.
Two other points I want to get to on this. We've heard people in San Francisco, the mayor of that town, we've heard folks out of Los Angeles say they support this boycott. What would you say to those people on the outside of your state who say, you know what, it's time to reschedule your conventions, stay away from the hotels in Arizona, make them pay a political price in this economic climate?
Well, you know, Arizona has been ignored in our immigration problems by liberals all over the country for decades. I mean, the Washington liberals have ignored our challenges about immigration, and so we can probably be ignored by people in San Francisco a little while longer.
Well, we just heard from the president just a few moments ago. He was speaking with reporters late yesterday. He doesn't think Congress has the appetite to tackle immigration reform now. Is he right?
Well, you know, that's just another excuse. The reality is that the preeminent responsibility of the federal government is to protect its citizens. And border security is a critical component of national security. And if the president doesn't have time to deal with that, then I think that his priorities are terribly misplaced.
One more point here. There was a sheriff who was on Fox yesterday. I think he's in Pima County, P-I-M-A. He says he will not enforce the law. He will not tell his officers to go out and carry out this law. What if you get a refusal on behalf of law enforcement not to carry it out? In what situation does the state find itself then, sir?
Well, I've got to just tell you, you know, this really is about the rule of law. This is not what people look like. This is not about anything but what people do. And a law enforcement agency or a law enforcement officer that refuses to carry out the law perhaps is in the wrong business, and we should remind him of that. But the bottom line here is if we stick to the rule of law, those trying to come to this country legally won't be pressed out of the way by someone who are trying to come illegally. And Arizona is just trying to do the things that the federal government failed to do. All we've done here is to put in law in Arizona what was already federal law. It's been federal law for 50 years. For people who are not citizens, that they're required to carry documentation.
I apologize for cutting you off. That was Clarence Dupin. It was the sheriff of Pima County, by the way. No intention of complying with the comment he made to ABC. Trent Franks, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm out of time. Martha.
Wait till you see this.